Yeah, thanks for the introduction and thanks for coming. Thanks for staying. I'm Jens Müller. I'm from the University of Konstanz, and this work I'm presenting has been done in collaboration with Roman Rädle from Aarhus University and Harald Reiterer, also from University of Konstanz, and they are both here in the audience. So, yeah, so the higher level goal of this work was to support spatial referencing in distributed mixed reality environments, as you can see on the image. And so our contribution refers, firstly, to a better understanding on how to support spatial referencing. And in addition, we summarized our findings as a set of design principles. So, but what actually is spatial referencing, you may wonder? So it can be defined as the communication and the confirmation of an object's location. So to give you a brief example, let's assume there are two persons sitting on a table. One is Alice, one is Bob. And now Alice asks Bob, Bob, could you please hand me those sticky notes next to your glasses? And Bob confirms. So that would be an example of successful spatial referencing. So it's a pretty everyday task that we do. And if we take a closer look on what Alice says, we see that she actually makes use of another object in relation to which she describes the location of the actual target object. So what she does is she uses a visually outstanding object, in this case it's Bob's glasses, within the process of spatial referencing. So as we can see, such landmark objects play a vital and a very helpful role for spatial referencing because they can serve as spatial anchors. So back to distributed mixed realities. Considering spatial referencing in such environments, we may run into problems. In the given example, one of the collaborators, as you can see, refers to a landmark object, a physical landmark object that is not or not necessarily present in the other collaborator's physical context or environment. So what happens is that, yes, spatial referencing doesn't work because no shared landmarks are available. But there's also a solution. As we can synthesize basically everything with mixed reality displays, we could also provide virtual landmarks that are available for both collaborators. So this is basically what we did. And to find out how such shared virtual landmarks, or SVLs in short, influence remote collaboration, we conducted a study with 32 participants forming 16 dyads, or groups of two. And to induce spatial referencing, we let the groups play a collaborative version of the famous memory game, where they had to find matching cubes in the mixed reality environment. So in the baseline condition, this looked as follows. So you see the two spatially distributed mixed reality environments. And in each turn, each collaborator was allowed to open one cube, and then they had to discuss what the next cube should be. So there was an audio channel, they could communicate with each other. If they found a match or a pair of matches, the match was taken from the mixed reality environments. In the other case, the two cubes were put into their initial state, in the covered state again. So the condition you currently see is the baseline condition where only the cubes or the target objects were displayed, and in the next condition we provided the SVLs as in addition to the cubes that they had to uncover. So we had SVLs such as potted plants, a shelf, a huge shelf, an armchair, a ceiling lamp. And yeah, in the study, it's a bit more detailed in the paper. We used the mixed methods approach, so including video analysis. We had questionnaires, a concluding semi-structured interview. So we had lots of qualitative and quantitative data. So today I won't talk about the analysis of data in detail. As I said, it's all in the note. Today I will directly jump to the main findings and the associated design principles. So first of all, what we found out is, well, pretty simple, provide SVLs, and there are numerous reasons for that. First, all participants favored the SVL condition. stating, for instance, that they provided universal referencing options or absolute references. For some, it seemed that they seemed to be in the same room, sort of in the same room, and also that they had more reference points or points that they could refer to. As a second reason, we also analyzed communication behavior, and we found that when the SVLs were provided, the dyads made significantly less use of deictic and often problematic, because of ambiguous spatial expressions like here and there. They don't have any, they're actually useless in such remote collaboration scenarios. And in addition, when the SVLs were provided, the dyads used them frequently. So here you can see that even in the baseline condition where the SVLs were not provided, some of the dyads mentioned them. That's because they had seen them in an earlier study condition. So they were still very present, even though not visible. So the second principle refers to the choice and position of the landmarks, or the SVLs. Considering choice, you can say use large SVLs to constrain the work area and provide a frame of reference. So in our study, participants were brought to different rooms, and they had different sizes. So these are the rooms from a bird's eye perspective. Here are the collaborators with their viewports, and the work objects, in this case the cubes, and also a landmark object. So we used a large landmark object, the shelf, to constrain the relevant physical space. Yeah, this one. And participants reported that this was very helpful as it would serve as a frame of reference. And we consider this particularly important if only a limited area of the physical space that is available is used for the mixed reality experience. Considering the position of landmarks, we can say use SVLs to attract users' attention to visual outliers or visual outlier objects. The reason for this is we also identified cases, so again we have the two rooms, where collaborators could not find a target object because it was somehow outside of their field of view, mostly vertically but also horizontally. And we also saw that there was, if there was a nearby landmark object, such as this one, the dyads were able to find such visual outliers more easily or quickly. And the third one, that's a bit of a limitation of landmarks, to be honest. We identified cases where the dyads could not see a target object because it was occluded by one of the landmarks. But the solution would be pretty simple in this case. We suggest providing the means to simply deactivate the shared virtual landmarks so that the collaborators can fully focus on the target objects. With this, I'd like to finish my talk, and I'm happy to take your questions.
Thank you, Sven. Any questions, please?
I'm just curious, because I'm not clear on the definition of mixed reality. This seems like a good use case for VR, because when you're talking in VR, yeah. Definitely here and there doesn't make any sense. In mixed reality, if you are inside the real world, can't you reference the real world objects?
Yeah, that's a bit of the problem or the dilemma that I tried to describe. I think it depends whether you use mixed reality as a tool for collaboration, for co-located collaboration, or for distributed collaboration. For co-located collaboration, of course, both or all collaborators can make use of the physical environment and the landmark it contains. But in such a distributed setting, as I said, that can cause problems, and this is why we think that these shared virtual landmarks are really helpful. And of course, also they are probably very beneficial in virtual realities.
Okay, thanks.
Thad Stoner at Georgia Tech. Love the stuff. It's immediately useful for me, so thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Two questions. Number one, have you tried this on different size spaces, like larger spaces, and seeing what's appropriate for landmarks, how dense you need to be? And the second thing, did you do something about seeing if you could encourage particular names for landmarks to encourage a common vocabulary and a quick vocabulary for between subjects?
So thanks for the questions. The first one, you mean whether it makes a difference how huge the physical space is that is available? We haven't looked into that, but that's one of the future research outlook perspectives that we explain in the paper. Because we think that it has a heavy influence how the size and also how the physical environments are structured. So that's certainly something interesting, but we haven't looked into that yet. And the second one was whether there is a set of
It would seem that you could encourage, by the look of the landmarks, a common vocabulary easily for things. You said about potted plant before. But making it so it's a quick thing so they can refer to, and they immediately start using the same names for everything.
Yeah, that's certainly interesting. To be honest, we just started with objects that somehow naturally augment the physical space. But there's lots of open questions about the nature, the structure, and the semiotics of landmarks that should be chosen, but we haven't looked into that yet, to be honest. But cool. That's really interesting.
I'd love to see that. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's thank Sven again.